I'm here at the Salton Sea in the middle of the California desert, and I'm exploring Bombay Beach.
Once a vacation paradise, now one of California's strangest ghost towns. This is Bombay Beach. I've always wanted to visit because I love eerie, abandoned places. And I was not disappointed. The body of water is so large, it feels like you're looking out at the ocean. And right away, I notice how eerily quiet it is out here. It feels like Mad Max meets Burning Man, but with no festival happening. But the lake you're looking at wasn't always here. The most intriguing part to me is, the Salton Sea was created by accident. Back in 1905, engineers were trying to bring water from the Colorado River to irrigate the desert farmland. A massive engineering failure caused the river to burst through its canal system and flood the desert. For almost 2 years, the river poured non-stop into this low desert area, creating the massive inland lake that we now call the Salton Sea. Once the canal was finally repaired, the lake remained, fed only by agricultural runoff and rainfall, trapped in a basin with no natural outlet. Over time, the water became saltier and more toxic. By the 1950s and 60s, Bombay Beach had transformed from an accident lake into a booming vacation paradise. Families flocked here to fish, boat, and enjoy the warm desert sun. Developers promoted it as the next big thing, promising a coastal escape in the middle of the desert. The town had restaurants, bars, and even little hotels lining the shoreline. You could spend the day on the water, then head to a diner or a dance hall in the evening. It was a lively place full of energy and excitement. Celebrities even came to visit. Frank Sinatra and the Beach Boys were rumored to have played shows here, drawing crowds from across California. The lake was full of life, and Bombay Beach was a social hub, a place where people came to relax, have fun, and enjoy the beauty of the Salton Sea. But starting in the 70s, the Salton Sea began to take its toll. Storms and flooding pushed the water inland, destroying homes and businesses. At the same time, the lake's water became saltier, more polluted, because it had no natural outlet. Everything that flowed in stayed, and when the water evaporated, it left behind toxic minerals. Fish populations started dying off, creating a foul smell along the shoreline, and the once lively resorts and restaurants slowly closed. Families moved away, and the town that had been full of life became a ghost town almost overnight. What was once a hub of energy turned into scattered trailers, abandoned buildings, and empty streets, leaving an eerily quiet, empty beach. Today, Bombay Beach is a completely different place. The once thriving resort is now mostly abandoned, but it has developed a new kind of life through art. Over the past decade, artists have turned abandoned buildings, trailers, and the desert itself into a massive art gallery. As you walk along the shoreline, you'll see strange sculptures made from rusted metal, old car parts, and whatever the desert has left behind. Each piece feels random and chaotic, yet somehow it fits perfectly with the town's eerie atmosphere. Restoration efforts are still being discussed, but progress is slow. There are proposals ranging from creating smaller managed ponds to bringing in outside water. But each option has major challenges: cost, environmental impact, and long-term sustainability. It's a complicated situation without a simple solution. Walking closer to the shoreline, you can see what looks like sand is actually millions of hardened salt and mineral deposits. They're sharp, white, and crunchy as you walk across it. They give the beach a strange texture. Scattered along the shore are decaying docks of rusted metal and splintered wood. The Salton Sea itself is massive, about 35 miles long and 15 miles wide, with a depth of around 52 feet. Looking across it, it almost feels like you're standing on the edge of the ocean. Yet the quiet here is almost unnatural. The wind, the distant sound of birds, and the crunch of your feet walking on the mineral crust are the only sounds. Even though most of the town feels abandoned, Bombay Beach isn't totally empty. A small group of about 200 to 300 residents live in trailers and small houses scattered across the town. There is a local place called the Ski Inn. It's the only bar and restaurant in town. I didn't have the chance to check it out this time, but I heard it's really cool. I wouldn't recommend coming here in the summer though. Temperatures can reach up to 120 degrees, and the heat makes the air feel heavy. On top of that, algae blooms are more common during the hotter months. and they can create a really strong, unpleasant smell along the shoreline. The drying lake bed also kicks up more dust during that time, which can make air quality pretty rough. As you walk around, you can find abandoned jet skis, boats, and other things that seem completely out of place in the middle of a desert. They're left sitting on the dry ground where water used to be. Some are half buried, others are sun-bleached and falling apart. I was surprised to see people camping here off in the distance and locals walking around town. There's even land for sale here, although I'm not sure why you'd want to buy it. Even though it's a cool place to check out, I wouldn't recommend living here. One of the more dangerous side effects of the shrinking Salton Sea is the dust that gets kicked up from the exposed lake bed. When the wind blows, fine particles of salt, sand, and minerals rise into the air. These aren't just unpleasant, the dust can carry harmful particles like pesticides and other chemicals from agricultural runoff. On windy days, it can make breathing difficult and reduce air quality for nearby communities. Some of my favorite artwork were these little metal bird sculptures. I also noticed a lot of the sculptures had decorated mailboxes attached to them, which I thought was pretty neat. I also enjoyed the art setups that had chairs and tables. It gave an eerie vibe like people were recently hanging out there. Some of the artwork makes noises with the wind, and others change and become more unique as the sun hits reflective parts of them. Some sculptures are massive and impossible to miss, while others are tiny and tucked into corners or along the shoreline. You can walk past them at first and not even notice them. So keep your eye open for small details when exploring. I also learned that every spring there's an art festival down at Bombay Beach right on the shores of the Salton Sea. It's free and transforms abandoned houses, empty lots, and dusty streets into canvases, theaters, and galleries. You'll find sculptures, murals, performances, and music. The shoreline is lined with fish bones that have built up over the years. As the water evaporates, it exposes more of the lake bed and forms these wide crack patterns. Fun fact, the Salton Sea sits on top of one of the largest lithium reserves in the United States. The lithium isn't in the lake water itself, but deep underground. If you ever get the chance to visit Bombay Beach, I'd highly recommend it. It's eerie, it's unique, and I've honestly never seen anything quite like it. The lake is way more massive than I pictured, stretching for miles across the desert, and the quiet here makes the place feel unreal. You can easily spend a good amount of time just walking around, exploring the abandoned buildings, decaying docks, and all of the incredible artwork scattered throughout the town. Every corner has something new and surprising. I didn't even have the chance to explore everything while we were here. While exploring, just be cautious, don't touch the water as it's toxic, and try to be aware of the air quality, which can be affected by dust and decaying material along the shore. But despite that, Bombay Beach is worth seeing. It's a one-of-a-kind place where art, nature, and history collide, and it leaves a lasting impression. If you love the unusual, the visual striking, and the downright strange, you'll definitely want to check this out. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.